Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Jim, Angel, our deacon to be.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
sooner and sooner,
oh
everything
yeah.
time goes fast, right? Welcome to our next episode of Sunday Prep. I hope you enjoyed our last video, which was a little bit different. I heard a few nice comments that we were taking different light on the readings, and you really enjoyed it. So we'll be trying to do the same thing or in a very similar way, but we'll see. All right. And as we are entering into 13th Sunday in Ordinary Time, last week there was a storm that Jesus quiet. This week it's a little bit different. We are going into something far greater, but still something that we are all about to experience, and we are experiencing. And what caught my attention even more is the first reading, which comes from the book of Wisdom, and the last two sentences. For God formed man to be imperishable, the image of his own nature he made him. But by the envy of the devil, death entered the world, and they who belong to its company experience it. And with our daily life, our faith is telling us who we are, who fashioned us, and where we are going. And God helps us in so many ways, and especially through Jesus Christ and His example of life. And by Jesus, we know how our life should be like, or where to find ourselves when we get lost in our daily meditation, daily life, daily faith that we are growing into. But there is something greater that the Book of Wisdom is telling us, and it is reminding us from the Book of Genesis, from the first chapter, where we hear the story of creation, and we know from there why God created us and how He created us, which is into His own image, and He wanted us to live. He wanted us always to be with Him from the very beginning. And Book of Wisdom is reminding us of that beautiful gift that God is calling us to. But there is also why we are not able to be in the same relationship as our first parents because of the sin and the evil one. And Book of Wisdom speaks about us, exactly us, when the last sentence says, and they who belong to his company experience it. And we truly do experience every day the evil one, the sin, and we are fighting with it with God's grace. But still, we are experiencing its, we can say, even power. But God is calling us still again to return. And the evil one and the sin itself is the cause of death, is the cause of sickness, of so many things that have entered the world. And our gospel, that is going to be very long this upcoming Sunday, speaks about the illness and the death itself. When the woman who came to see Jesus, she only had to touch his garments. And then Jesus, when he goes to heal Jairus' daughter, he heals her, he raises her up by hand. What a beautiful image and fulfillment of the words that I mentioned at the beginning. God formed us to be imperishable. He is the one who is healing us. He is the one who is giving us life. And He is the one who leads us. And not to forget about that is what He is asking us. Not to forget that He wants us back to be imperishable, to live the life of glory with Him, to share this life with Him. And so that's my reflection that I'm going to remind myself during this time of preparation for the weekend, and not only because daily life, their daily world, sickness of our own or those we love can take us away and bring us moments of doubt and not to offer it to God. And we are always to do it, especially in the moments of our need and the need of others. So that's my reflection. It's probably a lot, but it's only the day that will bring all this stuff to us. And I hope that will maybe remind you of someone who is in need of our prayer. All right. And I will give the microphone to Angel because I will be talking and talking, and I will not stop. All
Thank
right,
you.
Angel, say something.
Yeah, I was reflecting about the gospel, how Mark addressed this history, this story about Jairus and the woman, and the phrase that he gave us in almost in the last part of the gospel that said, "Don't be afraid, just have faith." That phrase catch my attention because most of the time we had problems in our lives. We had difficulties in our home, in our work, with our families. But we don't realize that Jesus is with us. He's waiting that we approach to him as the woman in the gospel and ask for that healing. So the Gospel of Mark give us this phrase to strengthen our faith that we can continue praying to God. We can continue to approach our lives to God. So in this part of the gospel, I see that the power of God is working not only in my life, in the lives of every people who believe, or in the life of every people who approach to him and said, I believe in you, I trust in you, I trust in your power. I know that you can make everything new in my life. So this gospel can invite us to transform our life and increase in our faith. So that is the purpose and my reflection for this Sunday.
Okay. Is that my turn now? It's my turn.
Yep.
It's my
Giving
turn. Okay.
microphone back.
All right. Well, thank you both. All right. So, where to go? So, I have a strange maybe thought that's circulating, and I want to see if I can make a bad attempt to connect the first reading to the gospel, kind of seeing what we can find here. So, first thing, maybe to back up. So, last Sunday, we read in the gospel the calming of the storm, right? The Jesus is on the boat, and the apostles are terrified, and Jesus says, "Do not yet have faith." That line has been kind of sticking with me throughout this week, and I kind of see a similar theme coming through a little bit here. And it's a term that I think we're all so familiar with, to the point where I wonder if in our kind of common Catholic religious vocabulary, the word faith becomes almost empty and hollow. We don't kind of appreciate the depths of what that word really means. And so I guess where I'm going with this is I think that there is a distinction that needs to be kind of drawn out, or maybe considered, and that's the difference between belief and faith, right? And so I think that maybe, and there's probably theologians and fathers of the church who said this a million times better than me, and so I'll kind of butcher my way through this. But I think belief is something where we can come to say that something is true based on the testimony of someone who we trust, right? So like if Father Matt were to say to me, like, my car is parked on the far end of the parking lot, I would say, well, Father Matt's a trustworthy person. I believe what you're saying to be true. But that's not an act of faith. That's just saying, I believe what you say is true because you're a trustworthy person. And so I think when we kind of make a statement of saying, I believe in God, well, that's a good thing. I don't think that's the same as making an act of faith. Faith is a supernatural virtue that comes to us from God, but kind of properly lived out, I think faith is the placing of our trust in the Lord's providence, that the Lord's care for us and plan for us is far greater than our wildest imaginations. And so when Jesus seems to be having these encounters with, whether it's the apostles last week on the boat and says, do you not have faith? Or it's the two different healing moments in today's gospel, where in both accounts he references the need for having faith. I don't think Jesus is talking simply about like, oh, just believe that I'm God, or just believe that I'm the Messiah, as if it's just something like a matter of fact, like I believe that my car is parked on the far end of the parking lot, but rather it's a kind of a supernatural act of trusting in the Lord's providential care for us. So I think that's an important thing to maybe consider is, when we use the word like, I have faith in God, or, Lord, increase my faith. I think we need to kind of clarify maybe in our own minds, or at least in my mind, that it's not simply just kind of like an intellectual kind of knowledge of true things out there, right? That God exists, that, this is the Eucharist is the body of Christ, but it's a kind of trusting into God's plan and providence for us, and for me in particular, and for each of you at home too. All right, so now how does that tie back into the Book of Wisdom? Because Father, you highlighted that great line in the Book of Wisdom where the writer says, "For God formed man to be imperishable, the image of his own nature he made them." And it's kind of this reminder of who we are. And we forget this so often. I know I've made this point, and we've talked about this on this Sunday prep probably a bunch of times, but the importance of remembering who we are, that we are sons and daughters of God, made in the image of God. And what does it mean to be made in the image of God? It means to have intellect and will, to know things and to choose things, to come to know God and to love God, to be able to choose and act upon him. And so I think remembering who we are as children of God, made in the image of God, to know God, to choose God, to love God, and then placing our faith, our true sense of trusting in the Lord's providence, I think it allows for us to, if lived properly, which, listen, the greatest saints in the history of the church struggled with this sometimes, right? But when lived properly, it means being able to walk on water. It means being able to lift up a mountain and throw it into the sea. It means being able to not even let death itself hold us down. And so these miraculous stories from last week's calming of the sea to this 2 miraculous healings this week, all kind of are this reminder that Jesus says of faith, have faith, even in the midst of these incredibly challenging things, things that seem that we can't overcome them and they'll destroy us, that God has something bigger, because he's made us for something greater. And if we remember our own dignity, perhaps we'll be able to more easily make an act of faith. But I don't know, I'm kind of just shooting into the dark there, but I hope maybe some of that made sense. And for some of you at home, maybe something to consider is just maybe, what does that really look like? And what is that experience of saying, yes, I believe versus yes, I have faith, And so maybe something to consider as we move towards the Sunday liturgy. So I don't know. What do you think, fellas? Is that okay? Are we?
Oh yeah. Well, that really covered the readings, all of them actually. And I can what you actually said, I will just finish that sentence with the responsorial psalm. I will praise you, Lord, for you have rescued me. That's actually the response, to our readings. He rescued us from the power of darkness through his Son, and may this be the blessing and a prayer, act of faith from all of us to give praise and thanks to the Lord. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Angel, for today, and thank you all of you who are watching. We hope that God's grace will lead you even to a deeper understanding, to help you understand more his providence and his presence in your life. God bless you. Have a blessed Sunday, and welcome finally the summer season to all of you. Be safe. Okay. God bless you, but see you on Sunday.
Bye, everyone.